Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back and watching, all that stuff. I appreciate it. If you're new here, I'm Jim. I make videos about editing your photos and trying to simplify and decomplexify all these fun tools that we get to play with. Today I'm in Luminar 4. So much power, so much awesome stuff, and frankly, really easy to get to grips with. Like many of you, I'm staying home these days, and so as a result of that, I've been trying to think of different things that I can do and sort of challenges for myself, an isolation challenge, if you will. So this is video one, and I don't know how many I'm going to do. I've got 3 or 4 ideas already about different isolation challenges I can do, but this one is about monochromes, and that is because if you've seen my videos, you know that I love color. I absolutely adore color, and frankly, Luminar 4 gives you so much control over color that you can do so many things, and believe me, I do them. I just absolutely adore doing that stuff. What I'd like to do is get better and more, create more interesting or dramatic or fun or whatever monochromes. In other words, take my monochrome conversions and turn them into more interesting photos, right? So that's kind of what I'm talking about here. So today's photo starts like this. It's a shot that I took in Wales last summer. And, you know, there's some great blues and there's some great greens. And honestly, I've edited this photo in color several times, and I thought I'd come back and turn it into a monochrome and try to take advantage of some of the power and the fun that you can have in Luminar 4. So here's the after. I used 15 filters. I literally threw the book at this thing, and it was a lot of fun. I like the result. It's very different. It's very dramatic. I think it's a lot of fun. One more time. There's the beginning photo, and there's the end result. Let me reset these filters, and we're going to jump into it right now. Okay, so here's my base photo, as I said, and I've since used the light tool. Let me show you what I have. It's very blue. It's incredibly blue, but I did that for a reason. So I took the temperature very far to the left. I messed with tint a little bit, bumped up smart contrast, and left highlights and shadows alone, and didn't touch anything down below. So that's a really basic start. Again, there's the before and the current state. I get it, it's blue. It looks like a Smurf, like puked everywhere. We're gonna fix that in a minute. Next, I went to AI Enhance and bumped up AI Accent and the Sky Enhancer a little bit. It was really just a little bit. So there's the before and the after. It's very subtle, but if you notice it, what it does is a little bit brighter in the foreground, a little bit darker in the sky. And as you'll experience with single exposures taken of landscapes, you'll often have the foreground, which would be the landscape itself, if you will often be a little bit darker, and the sky, because that's the source of light, will be a little bit brighter. So that filter helped me to switch that a little bit, which is one of the key things I always try to do. And I do that very early in my editing. In fact, I usually do that first, and that is I try to balance out the light. Okay, next was AI structure, and that was just a simple global of 34, just to give it a little bit of punch. Okay, now I'm onto the color tool, and here we go. You can see what I did there. Let me go into advanced settings and show you. The first thing is I went into green and I bumped up the luminance to 77. So let me show you that before. So there it is. There's the green, which is obviously the grass around the hill at this lighthouse. And then after, I was at 77. So let me bump it up again to about there. And it's just basically brightening up those green parts. And that's really all I'm trying to do. Just kind of lift the exposure in those areas a little bit. And then next I went over to the blue and I did a similar thing. Well, not exactly similar, but same idea, which is move the sliders to impact the look of the blue, which is really what I'm doing here. I bumped up the saturation, so I made it more blue. I know, it's kind of weird. And then I took the luminance down, so I darkened the blue. What I'm doing is creating more blue in the photo. So let me show you the before. There it is before the color tool, and after, more blue and the green is brighter. Seems kind of weird and counterintuitive, but next we're going to black and white conversion, and let me show you why I did that. Okay, here it is now, black and white conversion turned on. I didn't mess with saturation at all because I don't want any of those colors in the photo. I did mess with luminance. I bumped green to 100, and I took blue to the left, right? I darkened it. The reason I was doing these things with color is because there's a lot of blue in the base photo. If you look at that, there's a lot of blue and a lot of green. And what I'm doing is I'm massaging, for lack of a better word, those color channels so that I can have a bigger impact when I get to black and white conversion. So let me go back to color and let me turn off color and see what that does to the black and white photo. There it is before I made those adjustments in color, which was basically messing with the blues and the greens. And now after, once I've converted it to black and white, it has a bigger impact on the photo, more contrast, right? And that's really what I'm doing. I'm creating a fairly high contrast monochrome, and I'm doing part of that by massaging the greens and the blues. If I can impact the luminance levels of the greens and the blues, when I convert it to black and white, because they're so prominent in the base photo, it's having a bigger impact on contrast. So something to think about when you're editing monochromes is figure out what the big base colors are in your original photo. Massage those, if you will, in the advanced settings of the color sliders. And then when you come over here to black and white conversion, it may have a bigger impact. Also note that I did that with the color temperature. So let me reset this color temperature. That's what it was like before. And you can see that's at 5361. And I'm going to type in, I was at 3240. Let me do that. And look at the impact that has on the photo. Right? Huge. And again, that's because I made it more blue, which seemed counterintuitive. It's like, I don't want all that blue in my photo. And as a black and white, as a color photo, it looked terrible with all that blue. It was completely unrealistic. But as a black and white, it actually works better, I think. So that's something to keep in mind and something that I took advantage of in this photo. Okay, next up was Details Enhancer. And here I just took a 38. And then what I did is I went and applied it as a luminosity mask. Let me show you. I have to click on brush mask to show you the mask, but you can see I applied it as a luminosity mask. Now, the thing to keep in mind is the luminosity mask will apply to the brighter parts of the photo. So after I applied the luminosity, I went over here and I clicked invert. So it actually looked like that beforehand, but then I inverted it. And then I also, after I inverted it, I took the eraser and I erased it from the sky because I did not want to bring up details in the sky. What I really wanted to do is bring up details in mostly these rocks and that sort of area. And so it worked well to apply it as a luminosity mask and then invert it and erase it from the sky. Then I went into Landscape Enhancer, and here I just added a little bit of dehaze. And what's often present when you're shooting some landscapes, but also like seascapes. This is basically on the edge of the Atlantic in Wales. And that is you get some kind of atmospheric haze. You get, mist and that sort of thing in the air. And that dehaze really helped cut through that. So one more time, there's before. There you go. And then after, it's just a little bit crisper and a little bit darker and also a little bit more contrast, which I think adds to my final image. Okay, moving on, I went to the next tab over here and went to Augmented Sky. You probably saw that in the final photo. Let me turn that on. I chose Lightning 1, which is built in, and then all I did is I clicked Place Object, and I resized it, and I moved it over there. I kind of thought, let me turn it off again. Let me show you the before. You can see where it is. It's fairly dark. It's a gray patch of sky, but that little thunderbolt has a nice little cloudburst that's white and bright. And I thought it actually worked. Number one, I wanted it further away from the lighthouse, but number two, I liked that it had that little white burst that kind of, I think, played off the white burst that's naturally occurring in the photo over here, kind of behind the lighthouse. So very simple, very fun. And if you're not familiar with Augmented Sky, I've got a video there you can check out about that tool as soon as this video is over. Okay, then I went to dramatic because, hey, we're having fun here. We're making a dramatic photo. Might as well amp it up with drama a little bit higher. So I did that, applied it globally across the photo, and then I popped on over to Color Styles or LUTs, and I grabbed one called Los Angeles and just added that. And as you can see, it's not a big, I have a mount of 29. It's a little bit more contrasty. If I went higher, you could see, obviously at a higher mount, it has a higher impact, but I kind of liked it. I think it was at 29, just kind of a subtle kick. It seemed to add a little bit of contrast, and I liked that. Then I came down to glow and just turned that on. I use soft focus. It defaults to soft focus bright, but I thought soft focus looked better. It kind of softened up a little bit of the details. I have dramatic, I enhance details on the essentials tab, and I just want to be a little bit careful. I'm not trying to create a really crisp, grungy. I kind of want it to be a little bit of misty, not misty, but just kind of, I want it to look overcast. I don't want it to be too crisp. So soft focus helps a little bit, and I did take the brightness down. So one more time, there's before and there's after. It's pretty subtle. It's not a massive change, but again, it's just something that I wanted to apply to the photo. Okay, then I went to the portrait tab and used my favorite, one of my favorites, and that is Orton, and I just slapped that across the whole photo at a low amount, 26. it gives a little bit of mood. It seems to add a little bit of contrast, a little bit of shadow. So there's the before, and it also seems to soften up some of the details, and it kind of, I think, complements the soft focus that I did on the previous tab. And so we're really getting there. I've got a few more filters, and those are over here on the Pro tab. So I'm going to start with adjustable gradient. There's turning that on. You can see here in the top, I went a little bit more contrast in the top of the photo, and then also in the bottom, I didn't add any contrast because it's fairly contrasty enough, but I did take the shadows down a little bit just to darken some of those dark areas. So if you look at that before and after, just a little bit more contrast, a little bit more change to the photo. And then here's where I felt like I had a huge impact, and that's dodge and burn. And it's very simple and straightforward. If you want to check out a video, I've got it there. But as you can see, what I did is I just clicked Start Painting, and I used both painting in light or lightning, as well as burning or darkening, right? So I did a little bit of both in different areas around the photo. I darkened these rocks a little bit, and then this walkway and some of these areas here, including this this walkway here on the bottom left. I lightened all of that. And so there you go. There's the before, and there's the after. It's a pretty big change, and I'm really getting into dodge and burn. It's a powerful tool. I'm starting to use it on more and more photos. I've always used it some, but I'm starting now to really take advantage of it and do a lot of different things with it, and I'm loving it. So it's something I highly recommend getting comfortable with and using, and truthfully, it's very straightforward. You just hit Start Painting, and you choose Lighten or Darken, and you choose your amount. One thing I recommend when I'm doing either lighten or darken, I go really low. I usually like a 10 to 12 or 15, just to make a kind of a small, soft impact, and then I might go over it again and again to kind of increase that. Okay, I skipped Color Enhancer, and then finally I went to Photo Filter, and I just went over here to the blues and just gave it a small amount, like a 9. All I'm trying to do is create a little bit of that silver tint to it, which I like to do with my monochromes. I consider it kind of a silvery moonlight look, but it's just a thing I like. So I did that with the photo filter. I just moved the hue over to blue and gave the amount 9. So if I went over here, you can see you really start to get kind of bit of blue. And if you remember in the beginning, it was super blue. I don't want that much of a blue, but I mean, I think anything here from like, 20, down to maybe 10 or so. I think it was at 9. I might go a little bit higher and do a little bit more silver, but there I am at 18. Just something I like to do with my monochromes. That is personal taste. But I think we made a huge impact on this photo. There's the before and there's the after, right? I added the lightning bolt with the augmented sky filter. I made lots of different changes. I pulled back a lot more into that sky. If you look at that, I mean, the sky was kind of blown out, but one way I pulled that back was so much work on the blue. On that first tab on Essentials, where I was reducing the luminance of blue and creating more blue with the temperature slider, really gave me a lot of control over the blues in the photo, which I think helped me create a more dramatic and more interesting monochrome. The only other thing I might do, I might go get the vignette, and I don't know how well this is going to work, but I'm going to put the subject there, and I'm going to take a little bit of a vignette, and then I'm going to go to Advanced Settings, and I really want to get a little bit more inner light, something about like that. Let me see how that looks. I'm going to hit Done. That was placing the center of the vignette, but there's the before and here's the after. I like that. I think it gives you a little bit more focus. I think naturally your eye is kind of drawn left to right based on how I compose this photo of the trail coming up and then winding to the top and going to the lighthouse. But I think a little bit of vignette there with that magical kind of happy inner light, I think that works really well. So there it is. One more time, there's the before and the after. And that's my monochrome isolation challenge, if you will, which is take a photo that's kind of, I like the photo. Compositionally, I like it a lot. I didn't have great conditions, but that's okay. And I wanted to make something fun and interesting as a monochrome. And I think the little bit of lightning with that augmented sky, it's not over the top. I don't know if it's believable. It's kind of believable. I mean, I think you could say, it looks like a stormy day anyway. I think you could believe that a lightning bolt was striking over there. Anyway, that's my isolation challenge, episode 1. I've got a couple more ideas, things I've been kind of playing with, and I did something really cool today that was just very different and fun. Very, very different, something I never do. I'm going to work on that one and get that video out in the next few days, I hope. So I'm going to mix in some of these isolation challenges. It's my challenge to you to go find some of your own photographs that you haven't really edited in monochrome before, and kind of explore some of those options, like with the blues and the greens, if those are prominent colors, or whatever the prominent colors are, and go mess around with adding more of that color and then converting to black and white and see what you come up with. I hope it's something fun for you to do while many of us are just stuck at home. So take care of yourselves, wash your hands, be careful out there, stay safe, my friends. Thanks for coming back and watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you really soon. Have a great day. Take care, and adios.